Hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to yet another Stone Cold Hockey video for the 91-92 Chicago Blackhawks. We are 3 games above 500, but those pesky Detroit Red Wings have given us fits. Meanwhile, St. Louis, Toronto, and Minnesota are fighting tooth and nail for third and fourth place spots. Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg are all there in the Smythe with Edmonton. Los Angeles and San Jose behind them. Montreal crushing it in the Adams. Boston doing that with Hartford. Buffalo and Quebec are fighting tooth and nail. Rangers, Washington, Pittsburgh, Patrick. New Jersey and the Islanders fighting for that fourth spot in Philadelphia. There too. Gary Roberts and Joe Mullen both put 29 goals. Kevin Stevens for 25. Jeremy Roenick has 22 goals, so that's good news for him in a sense. He's eighth in goal scoring. Brent Sutter is actually 25th with 17. Points wise, Kevin Stevens and Bill Housley with 52, Brian Leach with 51. It's a big battle. Our best point scorers, Chair with 41. Patrick Waugh, Mike Richter, and Tim Shovelday are the top three. Goals against Belfort's 8th of 289. We've played 38 games in our season. Minnesota's only played 34, so they have kind of got an advantage. Montreal's played 41 games. They played half their season. Points percentage wise, Minnesota would be third, St. Louis would be fourth. Calgary would have better point percentage for first. And that's all. Highlights wise, 27 hat tricks. Nothing of danger. 9 games in the 30 marks. Islanders San Jose with 38 points, but it was 8-6 on November the 9th. The Islanders were down 4-0, then what scored 8 of the next 10 goals. Edmonton, Vancouver from December 10th. Edmonton, Vancouver. Brantford versus McLean. So Vancouver was up 5-2 and then blew it. Quebec, Washington on December 17th with Vise and Don Beaupre playing each other. It was back and forth, but Washington won in overtime. Kelly Johansson. Hartford, Montreal, October 14th, but Hartford at 4-1. Jeffrey. So anyway, we played Detroit on December 29th. We're trying to beat these bastards, and we bring Dominic Hasek against Tim Shovelday. So Hasek in the net for the Hawks. Belfort backing him up. Yeah, Hasek was a Blackhawk goalie, and then traded him to Buffalo for the one of Stefan frickin' Bubakar in the fourth round pick, which was Eric Daze. Hasek took a couple years to fix his problems. Jimmy Waite, the number 3 goalie. Ray LeBlanc. Also there for us. He played for the U.S. Olympic team. Tim Shovelday, the main goalie for Detroit. Greg Millen, the late Greg Millen. Backup goalie Vincent Riandu, also there. Alan Bester and Scott King doing their job. The Red Wings having Stevie Y, their captain. Ray Shepard, the guy with the dollar waiver price. And actually, his GM said, I'm not paying $2 for his rookie card. That's more money than I pay for the actual player. Paul Yzerbar, Jimmy Carson, Sergei Fedorov, Jimmy Carson, the malcontent, who was great with the Kings and then got traded to Edmonton, hated over to Alberta, and forced his way to Detroit. Wine, bitch, bitch, bitch. Sergei Fedorov, this is the sophomore season. Kevin Miller, Bob Probert, who could score penalty minutes and score goals. Sean Burr, Gerard Gallant, the powerful left winger who is hated for being Rangers and Vegas coach. Nick Lidstrom, this was his rookie campaign in the NHL. Steve Chason, great defenseman, but then 7 years later he died in an auto accident. Vladdy Konstantinov, he would get some. This would be his rookie year coming out of Russia. Brad McCrimmon, who died in the Lokomotiv Yaroslavl crash in 2011. Keith Primo, Brett Fedek, Alan Kerr. Sheldon Kennedy, whose timing the sun was not the best, in the minors because of Graham James. Brad Marsh, great defenseman. Bobby Dolas, Yves Racine, Brian McClellan, Johan Garpenlov, Doug Crossman, and Slava Kozlov. For us, we have JR, great goal scorer from America. Steve Larmer, who had 880 consecutive regular season games, and that streak ended because of a contract dispute. Michel Goulet, the former Quebec icon, now in Chicago. Brian Noodles Newton, part of the 94 Rangers, like Larmer. Brent Sutter, great player for the Islanders to the Blackhawks. Dirk Graham, right wing, and was the first black captain in the Stanley Cup Finals. Look that up, people. Mike Hudson, part of the 94 Rangers. Chris Chelios, second season coming back to his hometown Blackhawks from Montreal in the Denny Savard deal. Steve Smith, a big trade from Edmonton to Chicago for Dave Manson. Steve Smith basically was booed out of Edmonton because of his fall in the '86 playoffs, despite three Stanley Cups out of 4 years after that. Greg Gilbert, part of the '94 Rangers. Chazelle Lemieux, Keith Brown, Mike Peluso, Brian Marchment, Stefan Mattel, part of the '94 Rangers. Michael Stapleton, Frank Cusera, Dan Fizzlet, Steve Conroy, Igor Kravchuk, John Tonelli, and Tony Horacek. Or 2 minutes later. Shot no. They couldn't score. We're red dice. Detroit Ski, Kevin Miller, his 13 from Yzerman and Lidstrom makes it 1-0. 5 minutes later, I really say, damn it, Hudson. Kill his own. 3 minutes later. Puck into the Hudson River, his 8th. Honey from Goulet and Sutter. Honey. Much later. Chicago delivers a hit. 1-1 after 1. Much later. And Detroit penalty on McClellan. Chance? No. Second chance by JR? No. McClellan? No. 3 minutes later. 4 minutes later. Skewer. Who shot JR? JR shot what? Shot the puck. His 23rd from Goulet. JR, baby. 2-minute penalty on Detroit. It's Primo. And we can't score. 2-1. Come on, Hawks. Much later. Detroit penalty, and it's Marsh. Mona gives out the puck. Chamber? No. Yep, Fedorov scored shorthand. Tie game. 2-2. Like, what the hell? Chance? No. 2 minutes later. And we get a penalty, Hudson. We almost did it to them, but they score. Constantino from the point from Fedorov and Shepard, 3-2. Uh-oh. Empty net? No. Empty net? No! We lose 3-2. The Red Wings give us back. We've been giving Detroit headaches. But Hashtag loses. Well, we actually weren't supposed to play. We were supposed to simulate against Detroit, but because it was the 75th anniversary of the NHL, the original 6 teams face each other. We're in Minnesota. And we beat Minnesota 2-1. Hashtag beats Blacklock. Roenick and Hudson. And here's time third. New Year's Day, Washington meets the Islanders. Well, we play the Rangers. Well, okay, we'll set it up because it's the Rangers' original 6 advantage. So So Chicago, we have the Dominator back in net. Belford not playing well. So Hashik back in the net against John Van Beesbrook. So the Rangers go with Van Beesbrook. Mike Richter also would be in that too, but they go with Van Beesbrook. U.S. versus Czechia. John Van Beesbrook would be known for being in the and Dominic Hasek. Their stories intertwined with the '93 expansion draft with the Panthers and the Ducks. As Van Beesbrook was a Ranger, then was traded to Vancouver for Doug Lister because the Rangers had to, you know, well, Vancouver didn't want to expose Kay Whitmore in the expansion draft, so they picked up John Van Beesbrook so that he would be exposed and that the Panthers could take him. Kay Whitmore was not really a good backup. Don McCashik, on the other hand, he went from Chicago to Buffalo. Buffalo left him unprotected in the '93 expansion draft, but no one took him. They were like, what the hell? But Buffalo was patient with him, and when Grant Fuhrer got injured, Hasek took over, and the rest was history. The Rangers have Mike Gardner, the future 700 goal scorer, who actually was not in favor of Mike Keenan when Keenan moved to the Rangers. Mark Moose Messier, the Rangers made that big move before the '91 season started. Tony Amonte, who would be a Chicago Blackhawk a couple years later, for the want of Noodles and Hudson. Well, Noodles and Stefan Matteau. Sergei Namchinov, okay. Darren Turcotte, Adam Graves, big move from Edmonton. Everyone thought that the Rangers were going to make a mistake getting Adam Graves. Big mistake. He didn't. Brian Leach, great defenseman, 100-point season. He's from Texas. John Ogrodniak, James Patrick, who almost always played for the Rangers and then got dealt to Hartford a few years later. Paul Broaden, Chris King, Doug Waite. He went to Edmonton for Craig McTavish and Mary Susan Ray. Jan Eriksson, the Shadow. Tim Kerr, the power play goal specialist. Randy Gilhan from Germany. Joey Koser, the Goon. Joe Sorella, Randy Miller. Ty Domi, a massive goon. Per Jus, what a name. Jeff Bukaboom, Mark Hardy, and Rob Samner. 2 minutes into the game, nothing. 2 more minutes into the game, nothing. 3 minutes later, Rangers with a dummy. Dummy says dummy. Much later, no. 4 minutes later, no. No score. Much later. When Chicago takes a penalty, it will be Chelios, damn it. They have a chance that they score. That's Amonte, his 18 from Messier. He would be much better as a Blackhawk. 1 minute later, another penalty, Kennelly. His team gets hit. And we kill the zone. 1 minute. Fight. Ty Domi and Mike Peluso. Unfortunately, Domi put Peluso in the heat. And they score off of the chance. Jan Eriksson has 6 from Gardner and Patrick. 2-0. What? We have a chance. So, we're down 2-0 to those pesky Rangers after 40 minutes. I'm a 40-minute pen. 5 minutes later. 1 minute later, coming on Hardy. Five minutes later. Amonte is 19 from Messier. We're dead. Yes. Well, that wasn't good. Our next game is against Toronto, in Toronto on Hockey Night in Canada. Well, come on, it's Hockey Night in Canada. It's a Saturday. It's an original 16. Well, as well. And it's going to be Jimmy Waite versus Rick Wamsley. So, Toronto. So, Jimmy Waite comes in for the Hawks. Rick Wamsley for Toronto. Because guess what happened? Yes, that big trade between the Leafs and the Flames happened. So Rick Wamsley is eligible to come in to be the backup. No Grant Fury, no Pop then, but Rick Wamsley is now in that. Their weak goalie against our weak goalie. So Jamie Waite comes in the net. They have Glenn Anderson, who they picked up from Edmonton in that 7-player deal in September '91. Wendell Clark, who was captain and was when he's healthy, he's good. When he's unhealthy, bleh. Dave Elliott, big nugget from the Jets. Peter Sezel, doing his indoor soccer stuff in Toronto. Doug Gilmour, the Leafs have him now, so trying to make Toronto a little more livable. Daniel Merriwell still around. Mike Bullard, the not the comedian. Canadians would know that. Rob Pearson, Brian Bradley, Kitchener. I know, I haven't said Kitchener enough. Mike Kruchelewski still around. Guy LaRose, Lucian Debois. Gary Lehman was sent to Calgary. Yeah, the former 50-goal scorer of the Leafs. Lehman basically for Gilmore. Joe Sacco still around. Future head coach of the Bruins. Clyde Lozelle, Mike Leaping Foligno, Craig Berube sent to Calgary in that deal. Rob Zametta. Bob Rouse is there. Jimmy McCowan picked up from the Flames. Alex Guduniak should not be on the Leafs because he was sent to Calgary 193 for another. Todd Gill still around. Rick Nattress now playing. Gail Shannon for the Leafs. Michel Petit left for Calgary. That's alongside Jeff Reese. Here we go. 2 minutes into the game. And Goulet gets whacked by Kruchelewski. That's skiers. The Llama Alarmer. Ooh! His 14th from Ronek. 1-0. 4 minutes later. Walmsley replaced by Reese. Shelley was knocked into Walmsley. Actually, Jeff Reese is not supposed to be in net. It's supposed to be Potsdam because Jeff Reese actually went to Calgary 5 minutes later. One for 2. Restore McCowan, Nattress, and Kruchelewski. 1-1 after 20 minutes. 1 minute later. That's it. And a chance? Oh, we couldn't score. Jocelyn. 2 minutes later. Chance? No. 3 minutes later. Session? And a fight between Peluso and Gill. Somehow Gill beat Peluso. What? Well, we heard them because Todd Gill's a good defenseman. Penalty. Doug Gilmour 5 minutes, so we can take as many goals as we can. Newman misses Sacco a chance? No. As for Gilbert, and Sacco short-handed from McCowan. Yes, Mato. Oh, we couldn't score 1 freaking goal. And we tried to tie and we couldn't. 2 minutes later. Chance for us, Pistolet. No. 3 minutes later. Of course. Empty net. Three to 1. We suck. Wheels Minnesota will simulate that, and we lose 5-4. Wakaluk beat Belfour. Larmer, Goulet, Ronak, and Noonan. And those goals. What's our next game? Our next game is against somebody. Oh? Toronto comes to town. Okay. Well, we're gonna simulate. Well, we've already had to deal with Toronto once already. And we tied 3-3. Fuhrer and Hatchick with the point. Leafs were up 3-0. Cecil, Clark, and Bullard. But then Brett Sutter scored twice and Larmer scored. And it's 3-3. And we tie. We're going to head to Winnipeg, but we tied. We lose 4-2 as Hasek losing to Essensa. Goulet and Hudson for Chicago. Can't believe it. We suck. Toronto head to New Jersey on Hockey Night in Canada to face Scott Niedermayer. We host Washington. Damn it. We tied Washington. We were down 4-2. Gilbert and Graham scoring goals, but Leo and Belfort getting 1 point each. We just can't win. We would like to win now. We're in Philadelphia again, and we lose again. Unbelievable. Belfort losing Hextall. Noonan and Larmer made it 2-0, and then Greg Gilbert scored later, but we still lost. What is wrong with us? We can't win a game? And we're on a massive losing streak. Toronto again. And they beat us again, 5-2. Fuhrer beats Belfort. We were up 2-0. Larmer and Hudson. But then 5 straight goals. What is wrong with us? This doesn't make sense. And All-Star weekend. Yeah, so many games. So many days in a row without games. Unreal. Quebec, finally a win. Overtime by JR, or Fizet losing the Belfort. Finally we win a game. So that means we can fight on. Fight on, McDuck. And our next game is in Minnesota. Playing a lot of games against Minnesota. We're still second in the division. Detroit looking good. We're still second somehow. We play 49 games. We're still second. Toronto, Minnesota, and St. Louis are fighting for third place. Vancouver, Calgary, and Winnipeg are fighting in the Smythe. Edmonton and LA are fighting for fourth. San Jose's got 26 points, still the worst. Montreal looks good in the Adams. Boston and Hartford. Buffalo's ahead of Quebec now. Rangers, Washington, Pittsburgh, New Jersey. The Islanders are creeping up. Roanoke scored 26 goals, but he is ninth. Still surprised that Flighty Rusika and Stephen Leach have more goals. Belfort's 10th in goals against a 3. Yeah, you know how it is. I mean, Craig Billington's won 7 games, and he has a better goals against average than Mike Vernon, who has won 21. And don't you forget it. Yeah, or like Ken Raget's only won 6 games, but he's better record than Bill Ranford, the 3.66 goals against. Oops, weird times. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.